Hey, Polka Dot sisters across the globe and all of the friends of ours around the globe as well. This is Shannon Crotty, founder and CEO of Polka Dot Powerhouse, here with another amazing managing director interview. Today we have the beautiful, super sweet, amazingly talented Dawn Regner, who is managing director of the Northern Chesapeake, Maryland chapter. Dawn, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
So I have lots to talk about with you. I've been a fan since you and I interviewed together. I think it was January of 23. And I had been Facebook stalking you even before that. But you bring so much light to whatever that you're involved in. I know a bit about you, probably not even as much as I should, but for those watching, tell us more about who you are and what you're passionate about.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me as well. Oh gosh, what I'm passionate about. I've found my home in being authentic to who I am, and as cheesy as that might sound to some people, it is what resonates with me and what has made me want to be a part of leading this chapter where I am locally in Maryland, part of who I am in my family and in my friendships and with all of the nonprofits that I support and all of it. Just being true to myself is truly what makes me feel whole and special. So I'm a mom of two grown children. I have two grandchildren who are 4 and 5 years old, who are the light of my life, and they call me Gaga. So Fridays are Gaga days. I get to spend a day with them every Friday, which is wonderful. I've been married to my husband for 10 and a half years, and we've been able to navigate the joy and the challenges of blending families, and we've definitely come out on the other side. And he's my that what tethers me, because I tend to be in my creative, in my search for authenticity and seeking what's real. I kind of tend to fly around all over the place. So Jeff is certainly my rock in that. I am passionate about animals. I volunteer at a rescue farm that is near me. I just started that. Shannon, you wouldn't probably have known that. I don't think I shared it. So I go and I feed horses and pigs and cows and once a week, and it just fills my heart. I also have rescue dogs and rescue cats, and so my life is full of animals, and also love being outside and in nature. Truly feel like I'm home. So it's a little bit about me.
That's so much goodness. I don't know if when we talked before, if you mentioned you were getting ready to start that, but it did, when you mentioned it, did sound familiar in my head. So I think that I do remember that, or at least I remember that. So listening to you, you're a leader in so many areas of your life, like even when you're doing rescue, even when you're doing volunteer, like that leadership component kind of continues to, because to rescue something, you have to step forward, right?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like leadership really is woven into almost everything that you do in one way or another.
It's interesting that you say that, because I do, at the risk sometimes of seeming like I'm boasting, which I am in no way doing, but leadership isn't one of the gifts that I've been given in in my person, um, for sure. And I wasn't leading for a while. I took a few years off after leading some different networking groups, and when I got back in this with Polka Dot as a managing director, a little over a year now ago, I did not realize how much I missed it. But to your point, you're right. I shouldn't say I was, but I do lead in other ways. My family would certainly say, "Oh yeah, she's a leader. Like we're kind of lost without her. We need her guiding us and telling us what's happening and what to do." They certainly they certainly believe that for sure. But yeah, I definitely have a passion for leading, and I'm also very independent. I'm an only child, just sort of navigate, I don't know, just found ways to navigate and keep myself occupied, I guess, when I was younger, and when it was rainy days and I had to figure out what to do inside. I think that I've always had that natural capability of just a tendency to lead by nature. So I love that you brought that all together. I never really thought of it that way before.
Yeah, and I think even that only child, I mean, not that every only child is a leader, but it has the capability to grow that within us, right? Because when you're an only child, that okay, you're gonna have to entertain yourself sometimes. You're gonna, you're gonna have to, where sometimes when people have siblings, that's another source for them to go to. Not, everybody's put in the position they're put in to shine their own light, but when you're not put in that position, it grows different areas of you, right?
Yeah, I think so. I do. I see that, now looking back, I think that's where a lot of that came through. I have a tendency to make decisions earlier than I kind of see peers and others around me and always kind of think I'm a little off the wall. And then I typically find out later that that actually was what was best for all. And I somehow just tend to be ahead of it. I
Right.
see that a lot in my life. So yeah, yeah.
I love that. I love that. What do you think is the hardest part about being a leader?
I would say having learned that you're not just are you not going to please everyone, but that you're not intended to please everyone. Your goal as a leader is right, is to is to look at the whole picture and figure out kind of, from a higher range of level, like the 30,000 foot view or whatever that is, what is best. And uh, I get challenged by my leadership team. I get challenged by even in my members asking if we're going to do different things or if we'd like to do things a little bit differently. And as a leader, you have to take, my belief is you take all of that in and then you process and you figure out, okay, what is going to serve the good of the whole best. And Mindy Van Vliet, my regional director, who I'd be absolutely lost without, has told me time and time again that, you know, stick to your why. What is your why? Why did you begin? Why did you decide you wanted to do this? And stay focused on that. And that has helped me so much to be able to navigate, what information, take all the information in because that's what a good leader does. But it doesn't mean that you're going to take it all to heart and make it all happen. You can't do that. So I think that's it. And I think it's been a learned trait for me to, appreciate people where they are, show them you respect them, let them know that, and then also help them to understand that that doesn't mean that that's what where we're going to be headed necessarily.
Absolutely. I think you're so right. And when you very first started about the ability to handle being disliked or
Mhm.
being the bearer of bad news, sometimes having to let people down. I think you're so right because like I always talk about with our team, there's so many amazing groups on this planet. Like there's no shortage and they're all valuable and they all have their zone of genius. And we get pushed and pulled in different directions by people who are amazing and well intentioned, but they have their own perspective on who and what we should be sometimes, right? They're looking at through their own lens. Oh, we should offer these kind of educational things. Oh, we should start conversations around this, or we should lead our members to do this. And like you said, listening, saying, I respect you, I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna put it through the filter of vision. And what I constantly have to remind people of, because it's so simple that I think it's scary for people. Like they can't handle that. It's so simple that we are the connection point. That's where our magic is that we connect women. It's not to say we won't never do anything, right? The world is open to opportunities, but when we allow ourselves to be what is our zone of genius and the simplicity of that we are that connection point and there's so much magic there if we choose to find, but we don't necessarily have to complicate it trying to be other things, trying to be what other groups are intended to be for people. We can sit in the marvel of the magic that is made and being the point of connection. And so, it's disappointing to people, right? Like, oh, they so want us to be an educational foundation or a charitable foundation. They want us to start conversations of different subjects. They want us to do and those are all great things that should be done by the companies that is their zone of genius. Our zone is right at that connection point of two women.
Mhm. That's a beautiful way to put it. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe me, I came from the South and the Good Girls Club, and you make everybody happy. You don't rock anything. Like we're like people here, like we're no drama. That's right, but that doesn't mean part of being no drama is having boundaries and standards and standing firm in that and saying thank you, but no thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that is a learned trait. That is not something this only child was raised to do either.
Right.
So it's a
I
learned
think
trait.
that's true about leadership. Like, not that
Yeah,
everybody has the capability, even if they don't feel like they have the strengths to develop strengths as a leader. But not everybody maybe should, or everybody wants to, because, I think you have to have some thick skin to be a leader.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And be willing to protect the group as a whole,
Right.
and be willing to disappoint sometimes people, a few people here and there, looking, like you said, at that big view to make sure that we're protecting as a whole.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys are a silver elite status chapter.
We
You've
are.
been going just like a little under a year and a half. What do you think is the biggest lesson that you've learned from leading a polka dot chapter?
I would say, let me think about that. There's been a couple lessons, but growth points with me. So I come from a chapter nearby, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Lancaster is a large chapter. Right next door to Lancaster, we have York, Pennsylvania, another large, robust chapter. And when I was setting goals and my intentions and my plans of February a year ago, I just naturally felt called to focus on numbers for growth. It just made sense because that's what I came out of. That's what I saw. I was in leadership, at least in the Lancaster chapter as well. So it just naturally felt like what I should be focused on. And what I realized is, again, getting back to my why. My why is connecting. My why is bringing the experience of what I got to know so well and intimately in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, home to Maryland, where I live. And
Right.
in doing that, the numbers aren't where that's happening. It's the intentionality of the connections. It's the relationship build first that we talk about all the time in our meetings and throughout Polka Dot worldwide. And so I realized that I needed to not focus so much on those numbers and trust the process and trust, again, Mindy, who's meant to be there is going to be there. Continue to invite, continue to share, and allow that flow to happen. Eventually, as a new chapter, it has its it is a challenge, I would say, because nobody has heard of Polka Dot where I live. Nobody ever heard this before. So not only am I creating this new environment for women to learn to experience, which is very different from many traditional networking groups that they are used to,
Right.
but also I had to establish the culture locally before they could then replicate what I was doing and sharing with them, outside. So they
Right.
had to see me be that before they understood, oh, this is how this works, and oh, we could do this too. And this is a no drama place. This truly is relationship first. Like it's lived that way here.
Mhm.
So I think for me that has been or was the biggest challenge. And when I let that go and I just trusted the process and trusted everything I was doing, staying authentic to myself, that's when we saw the growth that got us into Silver Elite and beyond movie. So yeah, I think that's it.
I love that, first of all. I think there's several, almost every destination you're going to go to, there's several different roads that will take you there. And it depends on how the lead. One of the things I love about Polka Dot is all of the leaders of all the chapters are very different people. There's a lot of diversity amongst the leaders, because we always say we want our members to see the reflection in some way in our leadership. Not that they have to necessarily with the main leader, but somewhere on that chapter's leadership. And our people are cookie cutters, right? Like we're not trying to clone one specific leader. We're trying to bring strong leaders that are very differently skilled in, and granted, we try to balance them with their team. right? Like the team that I need to balance me looks way different than the team that needs to balance you. We want to honor, respect, and see that. But I think that it's depends on your personality, how you go about the road of bringing polka dot to an area. Like, I know you said you like in the beginning, you were very focused on the numbers. Like, I always have to know where the arrow is headed. Like, I got to know what the destination is so I can strategize in that area. But also another road to that success, like you said, the trusting the process is being very steeped in our vision and being able to convey that and convey, because it is a very different group, and people haven't necessarily, like you mentioned, experienced that. So, and it's hard, like this is something we don't talk about enough. And like sometimes I'll talk about an interview, but sometimes I don't. If I'm selling you a product that you can hold, you can try on, you can look in the mirror, whatever, that is very different than than presenting a product that is a community, that is a feeling that has to be conveyed by the person that's presenting it. And that isn't always easy. So that ability to convey who we are, why that matters to someone's life, and remind them to be themselves, right? Like they don't have to change their package to come into our community. It's just really hard. It is hard to, again, to remind people about investing in the community that you surround yourself with. And I applaud you because, again, different personalities come about this in different ways. So you came about it, I'm sure that there was a little bit of numbers there, but you also trusted yourself to know what system was going to work for you. And I'm assuming as members came in, you tweaked and you felt more at ease in that system because you saw, okay, look, this is working. People understanding, they're coming in, they're referring other members, all of that stuff. And I love that it's not necessarily how anybody else possibly even would have built it. That's again why one of the reasons that we were so excited about you joining our team is because you're you.
Thank you. It's nice.
The first line of criteria is that you get the vision, and you've always at least appeared to me completely get our vision and to present that in a way that people can absorb that and can see the big picture. And I think that's amazing. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. It's taken time. I mean, even though we say it in the meetings and I try and convey that, with in my actions and how I am when I'm interacting with the sisters, it's still taken them time to go, oh, so now I really get what this is. Like, you really mean what you're saying. I'm like, yes, that is what this community is. And that's what makes it different. And, again, since it is not, at least not in my area, we don't have other women's connection groups that are like this. I mean, perhaps in other areas there are, I'm not really sure, but it's a little bit of a culture shift for the ladies to go, oh, all right. But it's just watching it evolve. I was on my page this morning looking for something for a post and just scrolling through all of the smiling faces and seeing the ladies actually posting the connects and posting the pictures together and posting how they're learning from each other. It just every time I do that, it just makes my heart happy. I'm like, yay, this is why we're here.
Right. Yeah. And you don't, I think I talked about this in another interview recently, so I don't want it to be like, like a broken record, but you never know where a simple connection, how it's going to transform or change things. And I've seen it time and time again that, I'm at this point, all of a sudden this was happening. It doesn't happen every connection, but you never know. And I'm often reminded just by observing that even if you don't meet an amazing connection that changes everything, having people who lift you on a regular basis makes it possible for you to see yourself at the altitude you want to see yourself at.
Yeah, that's very true. We just this past meeting, there were several different women who were emotional, sharing that connections and stories, and it just I'm like, oh, this is wow, just seeing it come to fruition is such a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me, because you have a really, really, even me here across part of the country in Wisconsin, and you're in Maryland, you have a very amazing leadership team. Was your team built with a certain strategy or a certain like roadmap, or was it very organic? Like, how did you build your leadership team?
Mm. It's interesting because when I was thinking about what was, the most challenging to me as a leader, um, one of the thoughts that I had was learning early on that as a leader, having everyone like me on my leadership team is not what's best for the whole, right? I need people who are going to challenge me and be different personalities than I am. I'm ambivert. I think we've talked about we share that.
Oh,
Right. And also woo. So we have woo too.
yeah,
But um that was difficult for me at first. I mean, early on, because I was just, I was starting from ground zero in terms of pulling together a team. The women that joined me early on, um, 75% of them, I'm like, I want you to be on leadership too, because I trusted them and I knew them. Um, as it grew and as the membership grew, I started really recognizing values in other members that were newer that I'm like, oh, we need to have that. Like I can absolutely see the value in them. And so, excuse me, I it became more intentional once I had more of a pool to work with,
mm,
if that makes sense.
right.
And now we're coming up, on the renewal year for leadership, and I can see some of them are not renewing. That's perfectly understandable. And it's just it's fascinating to me how the women that I've been like really watching and paying attention and going, I could see such value in having them helping us lead this, um, have stepped up and go, hey, if there's a spot, I'm like, oh, look at that. It's a beautiful thing. And yes, there is. So it was a mix. It was a mix early on of really just needing some folks to help me get this off the ground. And then also seeing, values that I don't have, not my strengths of zones of genius that others had. One of our Pennsylvania sister managing directors shared the way that she created her leadership team was not so much with pillars of strength, not strength, specific, like social media, for
Right, right,
example. But she looked at duties that the whole chapter needed to have done. And then from that, she actually allowed her leadership team to evaluate, oh, this is something I'd love to do. This is something sure I could help with. And this is something I really don't want to do this at all.
mm,
And she actually used that to build her leadership team. And I found such value in that that I incorporated that as well. So once we had got into our first full year of leadership, I actually created a very lengthy list of all of the duties that I feel need to be done as a team, as a chapter. And
right.
I allowed each of my team to kind of evaluate the strengths that they would like to bring in and created, it's a blended leadership team is what we have. And I'm really, really happy with it. So
Okay. That's really cool. I don't hear about that. I hadn't heard someone design it that way. So I'm a big fan of leaders balancing themselves. Do you feel like I'm just trying to wrap my head around what you just said. When you're making this list, is it with duties in mind that like that's not my zone of genius. We need other people to do it. Is it built in a way that does balance you? Because I think that's a real important thing.
yeah, it does. And so, for example, social media, I brought that up. That is not my zone of genius.
Right.
It is not. And also, social media can be a very time intensive role, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't want any one of my team to be overwhelmed. So our social media responsibilities are divvied out amongst the team in that way, right? So, but yes, absolutely. It's looking at everything that needs to be done and saying, yeah, I really feel like I need to do this. This is something I feel can absolutely be done more effectively if I'm not doing it.
Right.
I'm very big on delegation. I I rely a lot on my team. They know that. Like they know that's what's happening. I'm not I'm not interested, nor do I think it's healthy for the chapter to be needing to have my hands in every aspect of it. I'm there for guidance, but yeah.
Nor does it send the message of sisterhood, because, everything is messaging. So, some managing directors are better at delegating than others because they're different humans, right?
Sure.
But when you don't, and you're trying to run everything, that sends a conflicting message. Like, I thought this was a sisterhood, and how does chapter that only has the main leader, how does that even look or sound or feel like sisterhood? It
Yeah,
doesn't.
exactly. That's you're exactly right. It's very true.
Yeah.
And that's been, and I'm fine with that. That's not something that I've ever had an issue, sharing responsibility. And even in decisions, for the most part, if it's something that I definitely, I mean, I value their opinion, so I often am asking their thoughts before I will actually go forward with something that I feel would be a good thing to do. I have a habit of coming up with kind of crazy ideas, and I joke with them. They know this, that they've all seen me this in meetings. My idea, my leadership style is take it and throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And sometimes I do that, like in a meeting, I will just come up with this grand idea, and I'm like, okay, guys, I'm doing this again. And for those of you that need me to give you 5 plan days, yeah, hold on tight. Here we go. And they just laugh, and they cringe a little bit, I'm sure, but that's just my style. So,
Right.
again, we balance each other well in that way too. But yeah, this job duties list came, it's I really am, in fact, right now I'm refining some of the more duties that I can additionally delegate, and ones that I feel like I need to pull back in so
Right.
that we can get that list updated for the next leadership year. So I'm excited about it. So are they. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's talk about sisterhood in general. Why do you think sisterhood's so important to all women? Why do you think sisterhood's important, or our sisterhood, I should say, is so important to all women?
Perhaps some of it actually comes out of what I said earlier, being an only child and not understanding that personally. I mean, I had close friends, but it's different, right? It's different than actual having a sister or thinking of it in that way.
Mhm.
Um, I think about the best way to what I've seen in the community and what I'm finding even in myself and being able to experience with them is it's a sisterhood is giving us all a safe place to be ourselves, right? So I love that I have women who don't work at all and they're just looking for a place to come and have a break from the life that they have of taking care of, some challenges in their families, like that we're that for them. For some, it's just having a place to laugh. There's one individual who works in a primarily male dominated industry, and she runs a business that is, with the exception of an office manager, it's all men. And she's like, it's just so nice to be able to come here and be able to be myself and be able to laugh and be free to be who I am. So I think of sisterhood as a place where you can truly be yourself, all the guards down in time, because again, a lot of these women didn't know each other coming into this, but I've seen them evolve into that. We have a wide age range. We have, you know, all the ranges that could possibly be in our group. We have that. And we all have this commonality of supporting each other and encouraging each other. And a couple of things I've picked up on either from different meetings, some meetings that you've shared, we still do sparkles. We still do our little hearts, and we still give those out to just to encourage people. We do dot love notes anonymously for each other, but it's all about supporting each other to be truly at the core who they are. And again, we've had some really heartfelt sharing. Now that we're a year in, right, there are dot sister stories that early on, they just had to hear my story every month because nobody was like, I don't have a story yet because I'm a new dot.
Right. Right.
So hearing them share that and share, it truly is the essence of what I would say the sisterhood is
Yeah.
that safe space to be who they are.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw on social media, it was it was someone responding to a screenshot, and the screenshot said, "What kind of friend do you think you are?" And the screenshot included both the post and the person's response. And the person responded something, and I'm going to probably misquote it here, but I think I'm the background friend. I think I have a lot of friends, but I don't know that I'm necessarily that they value me. And I don't feel close to people. And it was really interesting because then I'm curious cat, right? Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of comments of people of all kinds of age ranges saying, that's how I always feel. I don't feel that I have a spot. I only feel like an observer, or I feel like a background friend or what have you.
Mm,
It reminded me that, and the majority of them were women that were responding. And it reminded, and and you're curious, right? So you're like, I wonder
right.
what this person looks like. You go to look at their profile. Everybody, or there was a lot of comments about loneliness and about feeling isolated and about feeling distance from people. And then, I don't know if I'm the only one who does this, but you see a comment and it's a really interesting comment. You're like, I gotta know what the person looked like that
Yeah,
posted that. You click
sure.
on it and they're smiling and happy and their social media looks like they're a social butterfly and all that. It, number one, reminded me that men and women, but we're talking about women today. So women of all ages are affected by feeling loneliness, about feeling disconnected, even though they might have a smile spackled onto their face,
Yeah.
and that they need community and they need support. They need people who see them and value them. And it made me a little sad to see these thousands upon thousands of comments saying, that's how I feel. That's how I thought I was the only one. It made me sad, but it also made me encouraged because we had the opportunity to help so many people, right? Like it both made me sad and encouraged.
No, I agree with that. One of my god sisters did a post last week all on her own. See, again, these women just are blowing my mind. And she was like, so what is it that keeps you from wanting to try a new kind of women's connection group? Like, I'm really curious about this. And she got many similar responses, not thousands and thousands, but definitely a large number of responses of just being made to feel they didn't fit in, or being, ghosted, or being, all these different really sad things. And she was just like, this just, it's sad to hear, but also it gives us um, information of what we need to do to be able to help kind of break through that there is another, there's another way for you to experience what it can really be like. So
Right.
that's,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. And I want to, and I also, nothing that you said, I also want to remind people like they should never join Polka Dot trying to fill something up in them, because we can't do that. We can only reflect. But in a world where, because I don't feel like anybody needs to be changed. Like I think everybody is built the way they were intended to, but we all have areas we're working on, right? That is what it is to be human. And everybody needs a community that, number one, needs them, that values them, that sees them, that appreciates them, and helps encourage them to be the best version of themselves, whatever they look like, that best version of themselves, the one that they want, the one that they feel most the home in.
Yeah.
But it's never, but it's not, it's so interesting. Sometimes you see, and I can see it on my end too. Like you'll know someone bought Polka, because you'll talk to them and say, how's your Polka Dot membership going? And well, no one's reached out to me. And I'm like, oh, you thought this was a passive membership. Nah, that's not
Right.
what
No,
this
no,
is.
it's not how this goes.
Yeah. It is a reflection. So the more you put into the community, the more that you reach out to people, the more that you let them see you, the more you're going to get that reciprocated, right? Like it is a direct relation to how involved you're in that. So it's not much like, I think here in the US, I'm not sure about other parts of the world, but there's a little bit of an addiction to starting things, right? But then moving on very quickly to the next thing. I know I do it sometimes too. But this is not that, because you're going to be disappointed if you jump in and, thousands of members. How is anybody going to know you're there unless you make yourself known?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes. We are definitely learning that. They're coming around to it for sure. But you're right. And I still have a few same. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I haven't really, I'm like, oh, well, this is why, I have my leadership team reaching out and connecting, but You're right. I love that. Reflecting. It's a good reminder. Thank you for saying that. Because you
Right.
can
And
share
you know,
that
it's
message.
not us up to us to dictate what they do with their membership, but you know,
Right.
you hate for people to waste time, resources, any of that, and then not get the value that they're seeking out of it. So I'm trying to help you. I just jump in. I know water can be scary, but just jump in the deep end with us, right? Like that's what you
Right.
want to encourage people to do.
For sure. For sure. Yep.
So
Right.
what would you say if someone joins, what would be the very first thing that you think that a member should do to jump in that water with us?
Honestly, for me, it's to schedule a connect. That's the best thing they can do because that one-on-one, we say that all the time. That's where the magic happens. So, they're joining us. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot of opportunities. It can get very overwhelming. And as a new MD, I was trying to share all the information with them day one. And I was like, oh, I am shutting them all down. Like this is crash and burn. I can't, this is, what would I do? The same thing. So, I think that's the best thing that they can do. And we have our leadership team in place to actually help to make an initial, just in a text or hello, that we started actually at the guest point, like as a guest there, they get to meet people even before they've walked in the door. They've been introduced to a couple different people in our leadership team, just so they feel a part of the community before they walk in. But I honestly think that it's making a connection. And if they're not comfortable doing it in person, you got almost 3,000 women you could choose from if you just want to find someone in a similar industry with yours. Now, I say that, and I am the personality, I am the girl that can walk into the room and walk up in the middle of a group and say hi and start talking.
Yeah.
So I respect that not like some people are like, oh, shut me down right now. I cannot even begin to imagine doing that in that way.
Right.
And so again, that's why I really encourage and get my team kind of connected to the new people in that way. I would also say the connecting the dots call that that Lisa Condon does is
That's
fantastic. Fantastic. I think that's another really good way that you can find out more about what your membership can do if you're not quite comfortable going out and having coffee with someone yet, but
right.
things that you can do sitting right at your desk until you start to get into those meetings and register for the meetings. Go
Right.
to a meeting. That's where you're gonna make it happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're right. The connecting the dots call with Lisa Condon is awesome to get kind of again, an overview of the land so you can see where you first, because like we talked about, different roads to the same destination so that you can
Yep.
choose which road you're going to start in. At the very least, like you kind of alluded to, people can go to the website, they can put in a keyword. Okay, I'm passionate about horses. I'm passionate about cocktails. Like, what is it that you're passionate about? And then you can search by that and
Yeah.
start making connections that way.
Mhm. And I will also say, I have to jump in here on this because I shared this with you, but one of my members, she joined in December, and I was like, you just need to go out and make some connections. And if you can't do it in person right now, go ahead, do it online. And dang, if she didn't go on, and she was like, well, I might as well start at the top. And she literally scheduled a connection with you. And to this day, I am so, I love that she did that. I love that I get to share that and go, because see, we're all together. This is all the sisterhood. And she was like, it was amazing. I had the best connect with her. You guys have a lot in common. It just, I know I shared that with you before, but I was so blown away by that. I'm like, this is amazing. And this is what it's really about. So yeah.
That is a deep end swimmer right there. I love it. I love that too. Like
Yes.
we have that email that goes out to our members. I think it's like email number 5 or something of a new member welcome email series. I might be saying that wrong, but
Mhm.
it gives all of the directors and myself our time trade links to book connects with us. Not everybody does that, which is good, right? Because I
Right.
never
Yeah.
any
Kind of hard.
time, but it is always impressive. Like someone
Yeah.
that's the very first connect, like that's just amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, awesome, Dawn. I know others are going to need some more Dawn than I've given you here. So how can people find you on social media?
Okay, so on Facebook, on Don Regner. I also am on LinkedIn with the same Don _Regner. Um, I'm an out and about kind of girl. I'm not really big on the social media, but if anyone is listening that is anywhere close to Maryland, please come and visit us. We would love to have you join us at a meeting. Some of the online opportunities, although we don't have them, I do jump on a lot of those myself. That would be great. Those are my two main. Facebook's still my main one. I'm not on there as much as I might be, but I just you're gonna find me out in the community for them
Awesome.
and feeding horses.
And if you're a DOT member, you can always search Dawn in the member
Absolutely.
directory and connect with her. You can send a
Absolutely.
message, chat, all of that good stuff. Yeah, and you can find the Northern Chesapeake chapter in our directory as well. So there's many roads to get there.
Yes, we have a public page as well for Northern Chesapeake. We would sharing all the time. So I'm so honored that you took the time to share, let me share all about us, and this has been great. Really appreciate
Dawn,
it.
thank you so much for the time today. You're a blessing, and we're honored to have you on our team. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
I gotcha. Thank you
So
very
next
much.
time, friends, the next time we have another managing director interview is just around the corner. Until then, be well, be yourself, and make sure that you are finding connection. All right, bye.